If you're a construction company owner, real estate investor, developer, or home services expert, and you haven't built business credit just yet to scale your business, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. In this video, I want to share with you the exact frameworks that we're using with our clients day in, day out that's helping them get access to business capital right now in this current economy, not 6 months ago, not last year, heck, not even 90 days ago, right now. So, this is exactly how you're going to get and build business credit for real estate deals, construction projects, developments and bids. Again, I'm going to take you from the floor level and I'm going to show you some high level stuff of how you can implement this in your own business with some things that are working right now. But if you've been in business for some time, whether you're on the real estate investing side or again, you're using this to finish construction projects or to scale out your home services business, then you're most likely familiar with one of these 5 different ways that most people are running their businesses right now. And the reason why I know these 5 is because these are the common 5 that we tend to see whenever someone comes to work with us here inside of our company. And so I have hard money and private money right at the top just because it's right up there with draws. Probably should have put draws second because it's right up there. But all in all, these are the most common 5: hard money, private money, MCAs, aka merchant cash advances, personal reserves, credit cards or personal credit cards for that, for that matter, and then draws. This gets tricky. And the reason why this gets tricky is because it's actually broken, meaning all of these different ways that you are possibly using right now to fund your business are ineffective and then they're also unpredictable. Here's what I mean by that: these models are going to eat away at your profits. And so, if you've ever dealt with kind of scrolling back up, I'll give you a real world example. If you've ever dealt with private money, or if you've ever dealt with maybe MCAs, we'll use these 2 examples first. Then you understand that it's timely, meaning if a hard money shark or if a hard money business doesn't want to maybe fund a deal, or maybe they see a deal that you bring to them and you say, hey, I've written everything out, I underwrote the deal, it's going to cash flow, I'm going to be able to get in and out of this property or in and out of this project within the next 35 days, but they flat out just say hey, the most we can give you is, let's say, 80K, but you needed 150, then guess what, there's potentially no deal happening. So now you have to watch someone else that has the capital take up market share. That sucks. Same thing with draws. Again, and by the way, if you are a real estate investor, contractor, if you are in the construction space, drop in the comments if you've ever used one of these models and let me know how long you've possibly been in business. We'll love to know. We'll love to connect with you. But when it comes to draws, then you also are well aware that you can only move as fast as your next paid invoice. And sometimes draws, like if the average project, let's say, is 60 days, as an example, not always, let's say 60 days, then that draw, you're getting paid out, let's say, every 7 days. Again, as an example, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. What ends up happening with this is you're not able to, again, move as fast as your next paid invoice. And so you're at the mercy of maybe the project manager or the person that's paying out those invoices to you. This means that if you have 3 or 4 other projects that you maybe underwrote, contracts that you have on the table that you know for sure you can deliver on, guess what? Until this project's done right here, you can't move faster. Same thing if you're looking to build a team or you're looking to expand into a new market. Until this is done, you can't move into a new market and you can't hire better talent. And so there's a bottleneck. There's essentially like a speed bump, actually a wall that doesn't let you get past a certain revenue threshold. Again, this is going to kill timely opportunities and then it slows down your momentum. And then I also want to preface this right here: your personal finances are like way too closely tied to the business itself, which I have these 2 right here: personal reserves and credit cards. And it actually looks like this right here. It's you and your business. It's one and one the same. Ladies and gents, this is dangerous. Should have had a red X on that. It's black. It's an X. This is dangerous. This is something that you want to stay away from because the IRS refers to this as commingling. And so, not to get too lost like into taxes, because obviously I want to keep it moving with business credit, but I think it's important and I want to keep someone out of trouble. If you get audited and your business gets audited and they see that you've been using personal credit cards and they see that you've been using personal funds to finance the business and it's not properly documented. In fact, even if you're using personal credit cards, that's why personal credit cards exist and business credit cards exist. You can essentially pierce the corporate veil. So what that means in legal terms, again, just to simplify, not to get too lost into the weeds here, is if you get sued, somebody gets hurt on the job, something happens, something breaks, they can legally come after you, and it pierces right through that, again, that limited liability, which is how we have it labeled here. You have you, the business owner, and then you have your business. Everything right here, I'm circling this nice and big for you. Everything is inside of the same circle, which means that your personal finances, if taken to court or if audited, guess what? They can come right after it. If you have a house inside of your personal name, guess what? They can come after it. If there's vehicles, they can come after it. I would hate to see this just because somebody pierced the corporate veil. This is how it looks. And for the purpose of the example, we're going to use an LLC. I know that some of you guys have corporations, S corps, C corps, whatever it is. We're going to use LLCs because, again, it's a common entity that we tend to see. It's a disregarded entity. This is how it looks right here. This nice, beautiful line. When you have personal credit, personal reserves, personal funds meant for you, the business owner, just like on your personal side, and then everything pointing back to the business side when you have your business credit properly structured and property dialed in, you've essentially created not just a own disregarded entity, but its own person. That's how the IRS sees this. And so, Irv, how do we do this? Like, how do I separate like my personal stuff? And by the way, I'm tired of using hard money, and we'll get to that in just a minute. And how do I put everything on the business side, specifically when it comes to business credit? Let's get right into that. So the first piece that I want to give you, and again, I'm going to give you, this is super nuanced, so I want to give you the data that's going to essentially make the biggest waves for you. I know someone's going to come in the comments and say, oh, you forgot this piece, you forgot that. I'm going to cover it, but I just want to give you the biggest pieces because if you're anything like me, I want to know what's going to make the needle move like the most. I want to see what are the biggest strides that I can make so that I can cover more ground, dude. I'm running a business. I got to get going. I get it. I'm with you. So naming selection is going to be at the top where we're going to start. This is everything. It's in its inception. It's like naming a child. It's like, the inception of the dream of the business. The reason why I wanted to start here with naming selection, because some of you have existing LLCs. Some of you guys don't. So I want to speak to both crowds. If you have an existing LLC, I'm going to give you a quick model that you can run through so to make sure that you are using the name properly for the business so that it doesn't put you in a high risk category. And then if you don't have a business just yet, follow along because this is going to make sense. So here are some naming do's and don'ts. I have an example for you on the screen. A bad name selection is Irv Land Flips LLC. Pop quiz. Why is this going to be seen as a bad name? I'll give you the answer. I don't want to keep you waiting. The reason why this is going to be seen as a bad name is because this is seen as a high-risk industry. High-risk industries are industries that banks and financial institutions, credit unions don't want to do business with. If I'm being honest with you, there's no appetite. They don't want to date you. They don't want to marry you, right? So you got to make it sexy. You got to make it appealing. You got to take your business. You got to get it to the gym. You got to get it healthy. You got to get it attractive to the marketplace, aka to financial institutions. And so a simple model that you can use right here is you can keep it a bit more broad, which is something that we're seeing with our clients, again, whether they're in construction, real estate, home services, you name it. So I gave you two examples right here. Irv means business. I'm using my own name. That's totally fine. You can use that for this right here. Irv means business, LLC. And then I have Irv's Management, LLC. I love using the name management. The reason for that is because we've had situations where we've had business owners come in and they had significant age on one of their LLCs, and it was management. Management is broad. It could have been music industry, it could have been arts and crafts, it could have been auto dealers, it could have been what I'm doing right now, which is creating content and publishing content on YouTube. It could have been a media company, kind of like what I have here. Or it could have just flat out been a real estate property management company, which in this case, it was. The reason that's important is because it doesn't box you in to one specific industry. and it allows you to scale the capital over time, which is what we're looking to do. So simple exercise that I want you to do as you're thinking through this is look at your name and see, am I stuck? Am I cornered into one specific industry? And if you are, then you may want to consider swapping the name out and then maybe using something a bit more broad, like what I have for you here on the screen. Next up is going to be your EIN, your employer identification number. Now, your employer identification number is a 9-digit number that you can get, by the way, for free over at irs.gov. And by the way, if you're setting this up, maybe you have an attorney or if you have a company kind of like LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer, that I think they're busy now, but if you're using one of those, they already have that as an upcharge. If you wanted to just pay it, whatever it is, the 15-20 bucks, you can get it all in a one-stop shop, but you can always get it for free on irs.gov. The reason why getting the EIN is going to be important is because I want you to think of it like this. It's you, the business owner, and you just named the business, or you have the business the business credit that you're building out. And so the EIN for the business is like its own social security number. This is important, and I want you to follow me on this because debt, so this is a money sign. Let me try that again. Let me try that again for you guys. There we go. Third time's the charm. Debt is going to follow the EIN. What does that mean? This means that as you start to establish the business's presence and you start to build out the business credit, the business is going to stand on its own 2 feet and you're going to continue to acquire capital on behalf of the business that only points to the business. It doesn't reflect back to you outside of you obviously having a personally guarantee. But if you're watching this video and if you are serious about doing business, then I don't think anyone watching this is thinking about defaulting. Like if you are, just shut the business down and shut the video off and go home, right? So if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you're a serious business owner and you're looking to build the capital in a predictable, sustainable way, which is what I'm helping you do right now, so that you can continue to go out, get more projects, land more deals, hire more help, get better equipment. This is how you do it right here. And so that's why having that EIN is important, because even though there's a portion in the business credit application side that you'll use your social security number to co-sign on behalf of the business, like you would for a child or for a friend that maybe doesn't have, or even a sibling or a relative, I should say, that maybe doesn't have the strongest credit. So you're co-signing. In this case, you're co-signing on behalf of your business. But guess what? The outsized return, if you know what you're doing in your business and if you know what you're doing in the real estate investing landscape, the outsized return that you're going to get from the capital that you're going to get access to because you built your business credit the right way is going to be out of this world. Moving on into the business setup, we now have the business address. So there's essentially 3 types of business addresses that essentially you can get, and I'm going to give you some recommendations along the way from what I'm seeing that's really moving the needle. At the top, we have brick and mortar, pretty self-explanatory. Brick and mortar is if you have a physical location for the business, not you, the business owner, for the business, that's brick and mortar. You have your virtual office address. Do not confuse this with the P.O. Box, and I highly recommend that you don't get a P.O. Box to build out business credit. It's awful. P.O. Boxes, matter of fact, I'll just write this right here. P.O. Boxes, companies like Opus and Regis, and you can use their address based on your physical or based on your geographic location. And so I'll give you an example. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and so I can use Opus or Regis to get a central hub for one of my LLCs inside of Central Florida, that when someone, maybe a bank or maybe someone that I plan on doing business with, looks up the business, they see a physical location. Now, some pro tips on virtual office addresses that I want to recommend is you don't want to get a virtual office address that looks like it's in the middle of the hood. I'm just being honest with you. You don't want to get a virtual office address that looks like it's in someone's garage, that looks like it's behind a meat shop, that looks like it's in a post office either. And lastly, when it comes to virtual office addresses, I recommend that you run a search on it and you make sure that it doesn't say CMRA, Commercial Mail Receiving Agency. You want it to be a non-commercial mail receiving agency. That's just a fancy way of saying it's not a third-party like forwarding company. It's a legit location. If somebody drove up, and by the way, if somebody drove up to it, including you, you're actually able to work out of this office, even though you're only renting out the what we call the address for like $49 a month. They have premium services, but you could do it for like $49 a month, all the way to about $100. And then lastly, you have your home address if you are maybe running a home, a home service kind of business out of your house, or if you maybe sell digitally, maybe you provide consulting online. At that point, you can look at a home address. Now, if you want my recommendation on how you should set it up, obviously make sure that it's legit for what your business needs. At the top, nothing's gonna beat a physical brick and mortar location. So if you have that, keep that dialed in for the address and use that as the business address. If you had me select between a virtual office address or a home address, I'm gonna say if you're more of a private person, then I would recommend using a virtual office address so that you don't have your personal address all over the internet. And so if somebody does a reverse search on your LLC, again, you're building out the personality for the business. I would go ahead and select a virtual office address. And again, you can use either Regus or Opus. Next up, we have classification. This is super important, and I don't see enough conversations about this happening. And so I want to shed some light on it right here. There's essentially three types of risk that financial institutions, when you're looking to get access to business credit, are going to categorize your business. By the way, classification, it's the 6-digit code. So I'll put this right here. So this is the 6-digit code that you essentially get when you are filing your taxes. So if you have an LLC and you've maybe applied, or you have an account, or you've done it yourself, and you have a Schedule C, then you'll see, I believe it's on the top right-hand corner, you'll see a 6-digit number. That is the classification of your business. That is how your business is bucketed. And then how your business is bucketed, you're going to get thrown into one of these three buckets right here. The closer you are to the dollar signs, which is what we have right here, the more money you're going to be able to secure on behalf of the business. So you have high risk industries, which is what you want to stay away from. You have low risk industries, which is better. And then you have preferred. I've done a whole video on this, and I won't spend too much time on this, but a quick like 3,000 foot or 30,000 foot overview on this. High risk industries are essentially businesses or business industries that banks have like red tape around it. And they say, we don't necessarily want to work with this line of work because the likelihood of this business defaulting is through the roof. Maybe the default rate for your specific industry is starting to climb, unemployment rates, the whole nine yard. They take all of that into consideration. And so you really want to live in the land of low risk and preferred. And one of the easiest ways that you can do that I always recommend our clients, I mean, we have data on this, but I'll give you like back of napkin math on this, is you can call your bank, you can call the branch, you can drive in person, say, hey, I'm involved in real estate and I'm in real estate investing. What's the appetite that you guys are currently lending to? Like, what's that portfolio comprised of? Are you guys currently working with real estate investors? Are you guys currently working with construction company owners? It's going to be a yay or a nay, or they're going to say yes, but you have to bring in, let's say, these documents, which is what I'm giving you right now. That's what you want to hear. Now, if they say, no, we're not working at all with construction companies, we're not working at all with real estate investors, that's when you want to take a look at potentially another bank, another financial institutions, and then start shopping around. Next up, we have the business bank account. Now, I want to take a pause right here, and I kind of want to catch us up to what's happened. We've gotten the name selection, so we've named the business, which is important. We have our EIN, or employer identification number. We have the business address. We know the classification of the business, so we know the 6-digit code. And by the way, if you wanted to look that up, there's a little arrow. You can go right on NAICS.com. So that's NAICS.com, and you're able to look at the classifications based on your line of work and your industry. So that way you can grab that 6-digit code so that when you walk into a bank with all of this data right here, you can then give them this number right here. So when they ask you, hey, what industry are you involved in? I got you going. Here's that 6-digit number, and you can make it nice and easy for them. So this is how the process works. You'll find a bank in your area. We've also done videos on this on the channel of some ways to find some of the best financial institutions that are willing to work with your business. And then also, we've done a complete training on some of the formation documents that you want to bring, which is really what you're getting right now anyways. So you already have this, which is what you're getting in this video. You want to activate that account, and then you want to use that account. I want to put actual context around what using an account is, because I get thrown around quite a bit. Irv, what is actually using an account though? I got you. You want to have, and again, this is back of napkin math, 15 to 30 transactions. 20 to 30 transactions happening. That sounds like a lot, but I promise you it's not. So when you make that initial deposit, let's say we make a 10K deposit into this account, you can use the debit card. Remember, we don't have a credit card yet. You can use the debit card that they give you. We're building out the partnership with the bank that we've now introduced our business to. You don't want to like blow past this, right? A lot of people end up, okay, it's time to apply for credit. It's not time to apply for credit just yet. Like, slow down. Hit this piece right here first. 10K is just a basic number that I'm throwing out. It could be way more than that. It could be less than that. I'm just giving you 10K, but under no circumstance do you want it to be less than to the point where you start getting insufficient funds, like charges. That's awful. You don't want that. 15 to 30 transactions. You can, when you go to Home Depot, use a debit card, make that purchase on the business debit card side. When you go out to pay someone, instead of paying it from your personal account, which you shouldn't be anyways, connect the payroll or pay that contractor or that employee, whoever it is, from the business account. Those are all counted as transactions. What happens is banks start to add up these data points, and it starts to increase your likelihood of getting access to capital if and when you do go to seek that capital. Next up is trade lines and accounts. Now, this is where things get fun. And I want to put a caveat on here is trade lines and accounts. A lot of people use them interchangeably. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to separate them. So for trade lines, we're going to say that these are like your net 30s, net 45s, net 50s. I know that some people have never heard of it, so I'm going to kind of catch you up as to what that is. Let's say you go to Home Depot because they do offer net accounts. They're going to give you net credit, which means you're going to apply with your EIN in the business. So you're going to bring all of this right here, and you're going to apply it at, again, for the example, Home Depot. They're going to give you something called a net 30 account. That means they have 30 days from the day that you were invoiced to make that payment. So if you bought $500 worth of supplies on November 1st, you have until December 1st to make that payment in full. That's a net 30. So we have net 30s and net 45s, net 50s, again, 45 days, 50 days, so on and so forth. So you have net 30s. I recommend if you're building out your business credit profile from scratch, you want to have at least 5 accounts or more. 5 accounts or more, right? Or really, I should say trade lines. 5 trade lines or more. If we're looking at accounts, the way that I'm going to categorize this is going to be, no idea why I got the erasure on here. Let me backtrack that. There we go. These are going to be financial accounts. These are financial accounts. Now, Irv, what are financial accounts? This is when we start applying for business credit cards, business lines of credit, business term loans, and equipment financing. All of this right here is going to be categorized as financials. And I recommend that you start off with at least 2 to 3 financial accounts as you're slowly building it out. The reason for that is because you may not get approved for the highest limits starting out, and you may not get approved for the big business line of credit that you're looking for the deals. That's why this model right here, you're stair-stepping it, right? But you're doing it in a way that's not going to break the business and is not going to damage your credit. And most importantly, you're separating your personal finances, your personal liability from the business. This is when you start to get approved for things like a vehicle inside of your business's name. This is when you start getting approved for a business credit card for your business, maybe 20K, maybe 30K. And then as you start replacing your personal credit card that you're used to swiping, you start using that business credit card in exchange And then you start getting the data and you start building out the profile, which now leads us to our final point. And this is when we start to scale. We monitor and we grow the capital. We monitor and we grow the capital. And so here's how this works. There's essentially three different profiles that you're going to get built out for the business. I'll write them for you here. You have Dun and Bradstreet, which is the largest business credit bureau. You have Experian, Experian Business. That's on the business side. And I'm gonna run out of room here, so let me kind of make this a little bit smaller. Make sure I can see it on the screen. Yes, and then you have Equifax. And these are all on the business side, by the way. Like, I'm going to circle this for us right here. This is important. When you start to build business credit by using the capital, by getting access to vendor accounts, the net 30s, net 45s, you start to build a paydex score with Dun & Bradstreet. You start to build an IntelliScore with Experian. Those are all business credit scores. Similar to what you have on the personal credit side, you start to develop a reputation on the business side just for the business. And that's how you start scaling the capital, because most people are only going to get access to, if I'm like, based off of what we've seen, anywhere from 60 to maybe 120 at most on the personal side. Anything more than that, it's honestly just diminishing returns. Like, you don't need that much personal debt. Start moving that over to the business side. But when you're on the business side, there's essentially no limit on it. Like, on the business side, you'll get approved for 4 to 8 times the amount that you would for your personal accounts. You'll start to develop this right here, which is what I really want us to like start moving into. And if you're watching this, what I would really recommend that you start moving into is financial stability scores. This is actually one of our clients' profiles. So they've done a really good job of like listening to us, working with us closely, because they have a 1 on the financial stability score, or rating, I should say. That rating goes from 1 to a 5. Anything above a 3 is considered high risk. Anything from a 2 to a 1 is appealing, meaning the banks are essentially throwing themselves at the business, and they make it way easier for the business to get access to capital. And as you can see here, this is like a mock business credit report. And so this is some of the data that the business credit bureaus are collecting on your business. I actually have a full video. I'll probably link it. It'll probably pop up for you right here, where I ran through how we cleaned out this entire business credit report, but I didn't want this video to be longer than it should have been. So this essentially like the step-by-step process of what you'll take to build out the business credit for the business, so that, again, you can go out, get access to capital, so you can stop getting beat out on deals. You can stop relying on hard money loans. You can stop relying on draws. You can stop slowing down when you don't have to, especially when there's timely opportunities. If you're interested in having me and my team take a look at your business and see how we can potentially help you put a simple funding setup into place that's going to allow you to get access to capital in a predictable and sustainable way, I would love to connect with you. We have it linked down below, InsideInnerCircle.com. I have it pinned as the first comment. I have it pinned in the description. That's InsideInnerCircle.com. Book a call with our team. We'll see where you're at. We'll see if we can help you out. If we can, we'll let you know. And if we can't, we'll at least leave you with some resources that leaves you better off than how you came in. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. And until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video. Bye.